Whoosh. What is the best martial arts technique to use in a street fight? You always want to avoid any kind of confrontation on the street. That's the first thing. If you can verbally get out of it, verbally get out of it. If you can run, run, right? So, a street fight is something that, you know, the prediction could mean death. It's not like I'm predicting the UFC fights and MMA fights and boxing, sports, right? Those are sports. But those are the closest in simulation of a street fight, right? The only difference that on a street, there is extension of the hand, which are knife, guns, baseball bat, rocks, name it. Anything that's an extension of the hand that can be thrown at you or shot, gun, you know. So that's the first thing you want to avoid it. Also, the environment that you're in plays a big factor too, depending on where you're fighting. You could be fighting on gravel, concrete. You could be fighting in a bar where there's like objects laying around that can be used as a weapon. And also there are objects that you can get slammed on, break your neck, you know, injure you, kill you. So you have to be aware, of your environment, look around, also who you're fighting, the size of the person, right? The weight, the height, how many people you're fighting plays a huge factor also. In martial arts, self-defense techniques, they show you moves like the guy punch, you block, he has a knife, you do this technique to apprehend the weapon, right? Usually if you find yourself doing too many moves, that's a sign of death for you, because majority of the time you just get shot in the face or stabbed, right? If you ever get into a gun or a knife confrontation, hopefully you don't, you always want to get a hold of that gun hand and that knife hand and turn it away from you. Hold on to it with both hands and control that hand. You don't want to let go of that knife and gun hand. That's the first thing you always want to do in a knife and gun confrontation. You never want to slap the hand or kick the gun or whatever, because you can get shot. You want to grab a hold of the hand, the wrist, where that weapon is on, and hold on to it for your life. Now, depending on the environment and the situation, you want to try to get that gun and knife away from the opponent. But you want to have two hands on his wrist, controlling it away from you now. You're not putting it towards you, away from you. And you're not letting that go. Because once you let that go, that's it. You're going to be in a situation where he's swinging the knife at you, which is a whole different scenario. Where, you can practice, kicking knives and catching the wrist and, this and that. But the possibility of you getting stabbed in a knife fight or cut is very, very likely. Just being realistic, just being honest now. As I said, you can drill all the techniques you want to drill in your school, your martial school. Do it every day. It depends on who you're fighting on the street. The guy could know what he's doing with the knife. If he knows what he's doing, you're in problems. If he doesn't know what he's doing, then possibility, you can get a knife away from him without getting cut. But again, man, those things you can't predict. You always want to try your best to avoid any street fight confrontation, right? Next thing is movement, footwork, very important, right? Drill a lot of moving in and out, lateral circle, just in case you have to run. You want to keep a distance away from your opponent on the street, right? If you don't have to be on the ground with him, don't be on the ground. Ground is a last resort, because it depends on who you're fighting and how many people you're fighting. Being on your back could be the worst thing for you, right? That could be your end of your life right there. Because you could be on the ground with one guy and then all of a sudden two more guys come up, start kicking you in the head, right? Or just come with guns and just shoot you. And then you being on your back, for you to spring up and run is like there's little time frame there for you just to get up, get shot already. But if you're moving in and out, stay on your toes, chances of you running away is very likely. you know, so you always want to be moving. That's very important, right? You want to implement short techniques, quick moves, right? Which is basically, I would recommend more boxing, simple techniques like straight right, even a jab, right? Straight techniques that follow straight up the pocket, front kick, kick to the groin, kick to the knee, right? Short techniques. You don't want to spend too much time throwing multiple of moves because you're just wasting your time and you never know throwing all those moves and the guy pull out a knife or a gun. So you want to hit him with one good hit or one good kick. So you could train that. You can drill those techniques where you practice on hitting just that one hit, good hit, a good headbutt, even biting if you have to. When it comes to biting, you can't think about biting like what Bruce Lee said, unless you end up losing your teeth. It's not something you can say, okay, I'm just gonna go bite him now, and try to take out some flesh out his skin. It doesn't work like that. It's something that's have to just happen. It also depends if you're the one initiating the bite first. Because if you're in a position where the person have you in a headlock or a tight arm bar, or you're just in a situation where you're very locked up and it's hard for you to get out, if you have to bite, bite. But once a person initiate a hold or a certain lock in you, you're just gonna lock it tighter if you try to bite them, right? So it has to be something where the person is about to make a move on you or grab you, then you initiate the bite before you get locked up into any submission, right? That's how the bite is gonna work. And when you bite, you don't let go, right? Until your opponent is actually down, and he's in a position where either you can run or he's just not able to do any damage to you, right? So that's just what it is. That's a street fight. Anything goes, weapons, biting, kicking in the groin, digging out the person's eye, whatever. This just anything goes, right? So you want your moves to be short, quick, precision, straight to the point, accurate techniques, right? You don't want to do too many steps because you just set up yourself to get shot in the face. And as I said, knife and gun, you don't want to play around with that. You want to avoid that. That's life and death. But if you end up to ever be in a situation like that and a gun is drawn on you, and once a guy draw a gun on you, usually when you draw a weapon, you draw an intent to kill. Usually you don't draw your gun and put it back. Usually draw to kill the person. So if somebody draw a gun on you, your first move is to move away from the barrel of the gun. You move your head away from it while you're grabbing the gun at the same time. So you're moving and grabbing at the same time. Move at the same time you're moving. You already have your gun. You have both hands on that wrist and tight on that wrist and control that gun hand, right? And you don't let go. And wherever it goes from there, that's just what it is. I'm not telling you to like bend the hand here and bend the hand there. You just want to hold on to it and control that hand. Whoever has control of the gun is going to be the person that lives to see the next day, basically. So keep that in mind. Same thing with a knife or anything. You want to control that wrist. The wrist is where you want to control, because that's where the knife and the gun is going to be, in the wrist. If you can control the wrist, then you can live to see the next day, right? You don't want to do nothing else than that. You want to be kicking him while his hand is free and he just swinging the knife, or he has the gun and you're trying to like punch him while he has the gun in his hand and you don't have no control over the weapon. You always want to have control of the weapon, and that's controlling the wrist, right? That's the first thing you want to do. if that's the situation that you're in, right? Also, I would recommend getting into some competitive sports, right? Trying some point sparring, kickboxing, even some MMA matches, wherever you can compete, practice some competition against different people, different body types, people that, obviously you're not going to know in the sport, I'm not saying to go out there and just get random fights with people, but, join some tournaments and compete to get the feel of the competition, as well as build up your confidence, your self-control, right? Because that plays a big factor too. Because when you get put in that situation and you're being attacked, just having competition will give you the confidence to push through a real situation. See, if you never have any competition, you never have the experience of somebody kicking at you, punching at you, giving you pressure, pushing you, pressuring you, punching you, kicking you. If you don't have that experience, whenever it does happen to you, you won't know how to deal with it because you never did any simulation of it. And I'm not just saying doing simulation in your school with your students. I mean, those are people that you know. It's good to go and go to tournaments and compete against people that you don't know. Because a lot of people, as I said, fear is something that that you create, right? It doesn't really exist, but there is something called danger, right? But once you can get over that illusion of the fear, you build up your self-control, of your technique to where you are able to execute it with precision. You could possibly learn how to hit with just one hit, knock your opponent down. You keep drilling that in competition. If you should ever get into a street fight, you have the experience. It won't be so new to you. You have the confidence to push through whatever the street fight situation is. See, to have that experience is way better than not to have it. You understand? So if you do get into a situation, street fight, just having that competition on your side of you going to tournaments, competing against different people, building up that experience, it will help you. I'm telling you that from my experience. Executing a punch and a kick on a punching bag is way different than actually landing it on an actual moving target, which is a person, right? Way different. The person is going to be moving around, right? Person is going to be pressuring you, maybe coming forward, where that kick and punch might not even work. That's what I say. Through competition, you can test your power. You can get your distance right. You can set your range right. Your timing. All these you can learn through competition. So when real life situation come, you will already have that. You will understand your power. You will understand your speed. Your timing will be there just through competition. So you will know that when somebody attack you just from competing in numerous competitions, you know that, okay, I can hit this guy with a straight right and he will go down. You're confident in that. Or I can hit this guy with a roundhouse kick to the face and I definitely will knock him out, because you do that in your fights, in your competition. You knock down guys all the time. So you will have the confidence to do that if you should get attacked on the street. Now, if you don't have that now, like I mentioned, then you will second guess yourself like, damn, man, can I knock out this guy with a kick or a punch? Once you start second guessing yourself like that, it's over. The time you take you to think if you can do it, the guy's already on top of you, and that's it. So experience in competition is the next step, right? Very important. That's where you're going to learn self-control. You're going to learn the discipline, the confidence in executing your techniques in a real life situation when needs to.